one, right? Here's my bad point. This is one that actually, who knows, maybe Dija won't agree with me on this one. Because if you know anything about his career, his first big final came as a result of this, which is I don't like Dija, that for the playoffs of ESL Pro League, it's not like a proper stadium vibe. It's still just a tournament area. Like, you remember when you were in that final against FaZe? On paper, we're supposed to go like, holy shit, they're playing FaZe for like a Grand Slam notch. And, you know, like, but if you actually look at the match, it's just in like a bloody back room somewhere. It's like, it's not like being in like Cologne and like the fucking walk in and you see giant screens and people banging drums. Like, that atmosphere is what I want for like big matches in Counter-Strike. I want it to be where like, you know, where if someone who gets scared, by the way, like maybe a newer player like Nerds gets nervous. I want that to happen. I want it to be where you have to really come out and it's like Gladiator. You're in the Coliseum, you know. Yeah. The problem is we're going back to Pro League, which is a perfectly fine tournament, but they've just sort of accepted now that it's just in Malta with like 15 people and 8 of them are people's girlfriends as the crowd. Like that, even though look, it's cool to be at the final, but it's a bit whack. It doesn't have a proper vibe, right? Like, sure, we want proper stakes. We want some pressure. I want some pressure for these matches, guys.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's Pro League, it might need to be changed to like Arena or something, because I feel like when you are playing something called Pro League, you will play in the Arena or you will play with some crowd, but it's like full studio event, which is maybe okay for the players which never really played in front of the crowd or something. But when you are, for example, FaZe, you would like to play
yes.
finals in front of some crowd.
Yes.
Of course, because you are the big guy, you are always playing in front of crowd, and you want to play in front of crowd, especially in the final. But for example, when we played them, we didn't really think like it's the final, because you see 15 people in front of you, which are from the crew, not from the
exactly,
crowd or anything.
Yes. Yeah.
So you are like, guys, we are playing final, but it's not really final, I would say. So, like, from my point of view, when we played Cologne versus V2, like, I was full shaking when I was going out on the stage.
Yeah.
Because I never played in front of more than 5k people or 8k people. So when you are going in front of 20k, and everyone is doing these weird sounds that you can feel the stage shaking.
Yeah, all the shoo, all that shit. Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I was never really getting nervous, but right now I am. And trust me, first 2 or 3 rounds in the game, I couldn't focus on myself because I was just looking at the crowd. I was like, fuck, this needs to stop and I need to focus on the game. But it was like 2 or 3 rounds maybe, but I said it to my team, guys, I'm not able to play first few rounds because I just cannot focus. It's too much for me. Like, but then after a few rounds, I was like, okay, it's going away. It's better. But for example, in the final, I didn't feel anything. Even though we lost, it was a really hard match for us, at least. It was super nice to play in front of this crowd because I already like knew this feeling from days before. Like, we played semi-final, and it was easier for us. Like, trust me, the first semi-final versus Vitality, I think it was harder than G2 because we didn't really play on the stage yet.
Yeah, it is a weird shift overall for Pro League to just be purely studio now. I don't know if there's any arenas in Malta that they could have decided to host it in instead of the...
I don't think so. I think they even tried to fix some crowd, but it's still like fucking 50 people. What can you do? And when you
the problem is Malta's one of those like really sort of sleepy places. If people don't know, it's mega chill. It's all people just having coffees at 4 PM on the veranda or something. You know, it's not really the sort of hyper crowd environment you'd want, I'm afraid.
But when you are a super experienced player, you will never watch these guys. Like, even if there is 50 people, 10 people, if you are super experienced, you don't care about that.
No.
And when you are playing versus like these teams which qualified, for example, for Pro League now, the lower tier teams, they will get shaky even if there is fucking 20 people. If there is 50 people, they will get shaky just because these people are screaming, for example. If they can see them, they will shake a bit. But these Titans players, for example, Rain, they don't give a fuck if they are playing in the fucking Lanxess arena or if they are playing studio. They just don't care. They are playing. They already played too much of this shit.
Yes. I will say though, as a random aside, because you're obviously still quite new to it, that thing of like where the initial feeling when you first go out for like the the walkout and when you play the first rounds, I have heard though that never goes away, by the way, mate, which is a good thing. Because by the way, this will blow your mind, maybe. That happens to commentators, talent before the final of a major have the same thing. Like the second before, I've seen looked over at the desk and seen people's knees just shake like that under the whole time. But I always tell people that's why there's that cliche of like electricity in the air. It's like that's what it's like though. It's like essentially there's an atmosphere in the air of like something can happen, right? Now if you have a negative mindset like you're gonna think, oh, but I could choke. Like, yeah, but you could also have the most epic game ever, couldn't you? You could have the most amazing. Like, think about the Sun Pius semi-final you're talking about here. Like, dude, I'll bet he was fucking vibing like nothing else. It looked like he was having the game of his fucking life. He's playing to the crowd, hitting all the big shots. Like, that's like the other side of it. Like, you can have the choke side, but you can also have the side where it makes you just go fucking supernova. And that wouldn't happen also, by the way. The same way the guy wouldn't choke with no crowd. I doubt some Pius would have the same reaction if there's just like, yeah, one guy in the crowd with an ESL hat on, like when he does the 3K or something. He needs the reaction too. So I think that's one of the best things about esports. If people don't know, it's why, even though they don't explain it properly, when you see all the talent that are just doing all those pitches, like, oh my God, it's the life-changing experience seeing this stage. I know I just mock them, like, well, you just grow the fuck up. But I get what they mean. They mean like that. They mean like, basically what they mean is it's the best shit in esports. It's like, it doesn't feel like real Counter-Strike till you get to the arena, till you get to the walkouts, till you get to the big match and people are having to like perform at the highest level,
Yeah. I can say for certain that even on the desk when we were adjacent to the arena or like, streamed out to it or anything like that, for the quarterfinals day, I always find myself getting the most nervous because I'm like, oh yeah, like you said, the first time you feel it every time at every big event, that's when you're the most nervous because you're like, oh right, that's why we're all here to entertain these thousands of people that are now joining us to watch this singular game. And like, but I find that actually, and obviously for players this will be a little bit different, I found that like semifinals and grand finals, I actually end up being much less nervous for events because it's like once you get that one rep in for any arena in the quarterfinals, then you actually kind of now feel it already. Sure it gets a little bit louder on the semifinals and grand finals day, but I actually think that just the one should be enough, and then like usually your nerves can settle just a little bit.
Yeah, but when you are a team like us and you qualified for like arena, I would say you don't want to go in the first match, and maybe that's why also people are shaking sometimes, or why are we nervous? Like when you qualified for something big, you want to play at least one match there. You don't want to go out after the first match.
Sure.
Yeah, the difference is that you don't know if you're coming back on the semifinals day. I do know that I'm going to be working the next day. So yeah.
Right. What is your ugly point now, Diha?
Go on. 1 second. Also about Suna, I think when he's playing in front of crowd, he's even better. Like, you cannot compare Suna from group stage, for example, when we are in studio, to Suna who is playing in front of stage. Trust me, I have never seen someone like him. Maybe Nerds is also, because they are both psychos. Whenever they are playing in front of crowd, they are screaming, they are doing everything. But Suna, for me right now, he's like top 5, but when he's playing in front of crowd, he might even go to like top 3.
Yes.
Because he's just like, it's helping him to play in front of the crowd. Whenever they are seeing him killing, they are reacting, and then he's like super pumped because of this. He's super hyped. It's helping him more than any other guys.
Yes. I actually think that's also, if people don't get it, that's a really underrated quality. Usually people are worse under pressure like that. That's why I say he just is a big game player. But it's way, Maui, without going into the exact specifics, that story that we heard a while back, maybe in the last lineup, let's say, about some Pius where maybe he had like an ego moment or whatever. Here's the thing though, mate. Looking back in hindsight now, though, he looks pretty justified. Like, he clearly is capable of some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah. I think... Well, it was natural. I think we just had heard some stuff about, there was some turmoil in the Valde lineup with Ensa just a little bit, but like it's I think now, like with how things have worked out, there's reason to just believe in himself. There's like the difference between ego and believing in yourself, and I think Sun Pius actually probably maybe before probably like leaned into the ego just a bit, but now it's like just believing in himself, and now all of us have to believe in him because he
I don't
keeps doing it.
think he has a big ego or anything like
Okay,
this. We didn't
cool.
have a single problem with him not being able to like reach any like point with the team. The only problem he had moving from Movistar to us, he was trying to help us so much that he was struggling himself to find his own game. Like
Okay.
we said to him, Suna, you need to focus on yourself, and if you want to help someone, if someone is asking for help, then you can move. But if someone is not asking for it, just don't do it, because he was always like, I can smoke here, I can molly here, maybe we will do
Right.
this, and we are like, Suna, you are just over moving, like you are not able to focus on yourself. And trust me, he changed it a lot. Like you can see
Mm.
it with his numbers. Like whenever he wants to do something, he has the confidence to do it, but he has this point now where he knows that he's not gonna help if it's not needed. And he was doing it from the start. Like he was always like, I need to help these guys because like maybe he didn't trust us at the start or something like this. Maybe when you are a new player, you are coming to the team, like you want to show your best, for example. But we just say to him, you need to chill and you need to focus on your role. Like you are the opper and you need to focus on yourself. Like we need opper on the map. We don't need the support guy who is throwing us smoke, molly, blah blah blah. We need opper, and he understood it, I think.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.